my next book is called It All Comes Back to You by Beth Duke. Beth Duke lives in Alabama, and she is a Southern lady writer. And this book is just adorable. This young lady, Ronnie, works in an assisted living facility. And she kind of has a gift for that, and she enjoys it. And she likes to help the older people there. And there's a lady there called Violet that is just gorgeous. She's gorgeous in her 80s. And she is one of these ladies that reminded me of Aunt Minda, always going to have the makeup on and the hair done and just always
jewelry that matches her outfit.
That prim and proper Southern lady. And what happens is Violet and Ronnie really connect, and Ronnie's kind of the daughter that Violet didn't get to have and raise, and Ronnie has Violet for a mom that she didn't really get to have in her life. So when Violet passes away, Ronnie gets called to the reading of the will, and she finds out that Violet wants Ronnie to write her life story. Ronnie wants to be a writer, and she has shared that with Violet. And Violet has taken Ronnie on trips to different areas where she used to live, where she grew up, and they just got so close. And there's a catch. She has to write the book within a year and get it published. And then there's going to be a very great reward for her monetarily. Well, Ronnie starts writing the book. She struggles some. She starts meeting people that were in Violet's life. Some of them are still alive. She starts finding out that actually some of the people that were in Violet's life when she was young were in that same assisted living facility.
Wow.
And it's warm. It has some sadness in it, Gail. It does.
It's a part of life.
Yes, everybody does. But I just like the way they brought it all together and everything, even though the life wasn't perfect for Violet, she still made it through. She always looked for the best. She always saw the bright side. She was just one of those ladies that you're not going to keep down. Great book. Beth Duke. I haven't written a book by Beth Duke before. I haven't read a book by Beth Duke before, but I really enjoyed it. I will be reading more. She has one out now called Tapestry. And she has won awards. I have to tell you, I can't tell you exactly which ones they were. And I don't know why I always want to say that, because a lot of books that are fabulous haven't won awards, Gail.
Right.
But I want you to read it. I really do. Wonderful book. It's not one of those great top 10 bestsellers, but it's just a great Southern ladies novel. Enjoy it.
Oh, and you are winning the prize. You are.
Well, I talk faster than you. I do.
Maybe that's it.
I think I like your way of talking because you're calm, and I'm over here.
No, you're not. You're doing a great job. Okay. My next book is also a book in that section, the YA section of that room that Julie recommended for us. And this is historical fiction as well. And this is The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee. And it's kind of interesting that your book was about Southern women and Southern. Stacey Lee, the author, actually lives in California. And she grew up there, and she went to school there and got her degree from, I want to say UCLA. Anyway, yes, I think it was UCLA in Los Angeles. She lives there now. But this book, as I started to read, I'm like, this book is set in Atlanta, Georgia. That's the setting. During the 1890s to 1900. So this was the time after Reconstruction. Slaves had been freed, and the farms, the estates were still needing people to help them work And I did not know this. This is historically true. Stacey Lee in her little pages at the end that explains how she researched. She did not know this as well. True, they brought over Chinese people to come to the South and help work because the slaves naturally did not want to stay in that horrible environment.
Yeah.
And so the Chinese came. They started to help, but then they realized they didn't want to be in that environment either.
Well,
out on the so they
Were they
attrition.
treated like slaves?
Oh, worse, because they could not get citizenship at all. They were not allowed during this time to become an American citizen. So they were in limbo as far as who
Didn't
they
have
are.
a country.
No,
you know.
did not. And so, but they were hard workers, and they had a special attitude about them that kept them going. You know, it was just and this comes out in the book, by the way. The character, and I've got to look it up, and I hate that. We were just saying that we don't need to worry about the name. Jo is the main character. She's 17 years old, and her adoptive father, Jin, Gin, and she is living. She and her adoptive father are living downstairs in the basement of someone's home. It is a place where the slaves, when there was the Underground Railroad and that sort of thing, they could go there. They could get through a trap door and go down there and await a way to flee and get away. Well, people don't know about the people upstairs that live in the house. Do not know about this basement. Do not know that someone's living there. They have been living there for 18 years. And right before she was born, she was dropped off.
I'm confused.
That's why I'm saying that it was the adoptive father, Jin. She was dropped off at his
But
doorstep.
they don't know they're down there, and they have to be super quiet.
Yes,
And they
have to be super quiet. They only use their little tiny little stove when the stove upstairs is being used, and they can tell because the pipe is beginning to get hot. You just have to read this book. The story. The main thing is how Jo escapes the prejudice that's still going on, and of course it continues to go on. We know how that is. But the way that they treat the Chinese people is almost worse than the African American people because, like I say, they have no country. They call them coolies, and they, spit on them, and so.
Well, it almost sounds like Anne Frank living in a house,
now,
but
she does get out. She is
So she doesn't work for the family that lives in that house.
No, she does not. She works as it opens. She's a milliner. And look at my time's already gone. I am.
That's okay, Gail.
She makes hats. She's very, very talented. The Chinese, are very artsy, craftsy with fabric and ribbons,
beads, and all that detail.
So she does all these adorns on the hats, and she's making beautiful hats. They are selling, and the lady that owns the shop just fires her one day. Just, you're through, no more. I don't know if she's gotten some pressure because it is a Chinese woman working and having a position and making money in a nice shop, but in any case, she's fired.
Because the quality of her work was so good.
Probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, she has to find work, and the worst possible is she's a handmaiden to a very wealthy family in Atlanta, to the daughter, and the daughter just treats her like dirt. And
well, I'm telling you, pick up this book.
You will not believe it. And I must say something about the way Stacey Lee writes. And I want to look into her background because you know how Chinese are known for their proverbs and the way they word things and the way...
what are those short little things called? Something they write.
Haiku.
Haiku, I think.
Well, anyway,
Check
she
it out.
writes in a beautiful way. And I'll just throw this little thing out because Jo becomes the author of a column in the newspaper, and she's Miss Sweetie. She writes, what do you call it, a gossip column, I guess it is.
Or is it an advice
column?
column?
Advice column, but she
Combination?
Yes, and nobody knows who it is. It's anonymous. And so she's allowed to vent in the most creative way.
Whoa.
What's going on with the prejudice and with the way they're treated. Guess what?
5 stars? 5 stars?
5 stars.
Okay.
I finished it this morning. I had 20 pages left. I said, I'm finishing it because I am reviewing this book. You must get this book.
Okay, we're back. We took just a brief break. I am going to go to my next book, which is actually a book my sister has already reviewed, and I just had to get it, and I'm so thankful that I did. And it is called The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hinton. And Gail told you about it. I'm going to tell you a couple of things in the book that stood out to me that maybe she didn't share. First of all, Anthony was sent to death row, and he was there for 30 years, and he did not do the crimes that he was sent to death row for. And his trial was just really a travesty. Anthony is a black man. He was from Alabama, and he loved his mother, and that was the closest person to him in his life. And when he went to prison, initially he was full of hatred because he knew he was innocent, and he knew that he was set up. And he was actually told by people in law force that he was set up. So for 3 years he didn't speak. He just was full of hatred. And he had a Bible, because that's the way he was raised, was reading the Bible, reading the Word. But he threw it up under his little cot, and it never came out. And after 3 years, his prison mate was bawling and squalling one night, in the middle of the night, just those deep wails, those heart-wrenching sobs. And Anthony said, "What's wrong? Can I help you?" And the cellmate said, or it wasn't cellmate, it was next door, because they were all by themselves, said, "My mother died." Well, that really touched Anthony's heart, because his mother was so close to him, and he had been in prison at that time for a while, and he didn't know if he would ever get out before his mother passed. So he started talking to this man and saying, I really understand the loss that you have. And he started thinking and pondering, and he said to himself, Anthony said, I have a choice. You always have a choice. And he said, I'm going to choose to make the best of the life that I have. And I'm going to pull that Bible out from under the cot, brush the dust off. My mother would not appreciate it being there. And then another thing in the book that really touched me was how Anthony started a book club.
And I forgot to bring that out. It's so important.
On death row. And he got permission for that, because once he changed his attitude, and once he let his true spirit of the Lord come out, he became very warm, and people just gravitated to him. The guards gravitated to him. He was able to have this book club, but they had to sit at one table each, and they had to throw the book. To share one book, they'd have to throw it, and you'd have to catch it, because you were shackled. And if you weren't able to get it, you weren't going to have the book to pass around. But anyway, the book club was wonderful. It was inspiring. It helped a lot of people. And Anthony did get out. He travels now. He travels with the lawyer that helped him. And I have seen him on YouTube. He loves to eat. But yeah, fabulous book. Just please pick it up. The Sun Does Shine. Anthony Ray Hinton. Thank you, Jack Hall, for recommending it. We both loved it.
Absolutely. And let me just say, our theme today is time.
It is.
And making it count. And
I went over, or did we not turn it?
No, I didn't turn it. You do well. There's a psalm that says to number your days and to be wise about what you're doing with your time. And look what he did. Once he made that choice, and all of those years spent with the inmates reading and with him reading his Bible, it helped him through the horror and then he finally did get out. So
Yes. Yes.
All right, my next set of books, I have another 3-book series, and the reason I was sort of using trilogy for the other one is because you really do need to read them in order, and something happens in one book and you're going to find out what happens. Well, okay, I see you turning that over. I know.
Just for fun, I'm so good at it.
But these are standalone books. They are fiction, like the ones that Charles Martin wrote, and not historical fiction like the others that I reviewed. But these are books by Lynn Blackburn, and I can't hold up the very first one.
Why?
Because I put it back in my library. No, you know what? I read the first one on my Libby app. We've talked about that, and I showed you about my Libby app. And so,
which I am very upset with right now, because they've been telling me 1 week for 3 weeks. And if I can reach them, I'm going to say 1 week, and it's been 3 weeks.
Right, that's something's wrong. So anyway, I tried to get that one. I put a hold, and it hasn't come, and it still hasn't come so that I could hold it up. So, Josh, I know you can put up a picture. Beneath the Surface is the title of the first book, Lynn Blackburn.
But what genre is this? Mystery?
Yes, murder, mystery, thriller. Absolutely. And In Too Deep is book number 2.
All about the water, Gail?
Yes.
Kinda.
And One Final Breath. And I don't know if you can see the diver on the front there. This is a story about a dive team that are investigators. They are part of the law enforcement of this small town in North Carolina. And there is, on the coast or near the coast, there's the inlet waters, and then there's a big lake. Lake Porter is in the town. And so their skills are used a good bit. That's shaking.
It's shaking
more
it makes
sands.
It go through faster.
It sure is, and I'm going to have to talk faster.
No, Gail.
But Lynn Blackburn I have actually reviewed another book of hers, and don't ask me what it is because I forgot to look it up. But she is a wonderful Christian fiction writer, and she loves to do mysteries, murder mysteries and thrillers, and her characters are so interesting, and the way she develops them is wonderful, and there's always a little bit of romance going on. Mm-hmm. So the only thread, I guess, in all 3 of the books are the same characters are in every book. It is most of them are on this dive team, and they're having to look for something in the water and to help with whatever the mystery is or the murder.
Does the mystery get solved in each book?
Yes.
Okay.
Each book is resolved, and also, I'll just go ahead, I don't think it'll be a spoiler. Each book, a little romance kind of is resolved.
Right.
But it's interesting, the characters, particularly, I'm trying to think of the one that she is so brilliant. She's like a Mensa smart, and she's into computers and the programs that you can use to look at videos or cameras, the cameras that are around buildings. She has
so you
she
can
can
take
enhance it, and she has her own
and get every little shot and
yes,
study
so
it. And
she is so precious, but she has very low self-esteem, and she has some baggage, and so she feels like no one would ever love her when they find out, what is in her background.
Oh.
So I love how, Lynn does, the characters are not cookie cutter, and they all have gone through some kind of struggle or are going through a struggle. And it was interesting, as I was reading all 3 of these, I talked with my husband and I said, babe, I don't remember worrying about any baggage, from my background or your background, and it didn't keep me from wanting to date you. It didn't keep you from wanting to date me, and of course we fell in love right away. So that was something that I pondered. I'm like, some people I think really do go through that. They are afraid to let the barriers down and they maybe fall in love with someone that they're. Of course, they're working together, and there was always this issue. If they were working on a case, then supposedly that's sort of a
You're not supposed to get emotionally involved
to date. But once they would say, once this case is resolved, now we're going to spend a little more time together, or whatever.
Well, we all have some baggage.
Oh yes.
But some may be more serious than others, and maybe some people find it hard to think a person could change. If they did do something that we consider bad. But I
love how in the book they're friends, the ones that are on these teams. Once they sort of see that there's something going on, maybe some attraction, they help with the romance part of it. They maybe make a few suggestions, or if they're close to one of the characters, they just have a heart-to-heart talk with them.
Like to take the pill?
No, I don't think that was anything that was in there. But anyway,
See,
yes. I have
different baggage from you, Gail.
I want to grab you about the first book that I can't hold up, Beneath the Surface. Okay, this dive team is looking for some clues for one particular crime. And as they're under the water, they see a body that's been chained, with some cement or bricks or whatever.
Right.
So it's on the bottom of the lake, which is a very deep lake. But the very unique thing about this body is it has no head, no hands, and no feet. So the first book in the series will grab you, and then you will enjoy reading the other ones. Lynn Blackburn, the Dive Team Investigations series.
Gail, what do you hear? I hear that train a-coming. It's running round the bend.
Johnny Cash,
I don't know when Folsom Prison. Okay, that's enough.
And I give them a 4, these books.
Okay, our last review for today is going to be French Braid by Ann Tyler.
Is it about hair?
It's not. What it's about is how families are woven together.
I love it.
It's interesting because it starts out with a couple on a train up in the Northeast going, I think, like from Baltimore to Philly. They're a young couple and they're in love, and they are visiting the fiance. No, well, they're not fiancés yet, but they're visiting the boyfriend's parents. But on the way back from the visit, they start talking on the train, and they kind of start talking about family and each other's families, and really their families are quite different, and the feelings get hurt by each one of them, and the chapter kind of ends, and then you start with this family, the Garrett family, going on a vacation back in the 1950s.
Oh, it uses the flashback.
Well, no, but the thing is, that's the only chapter, and then the rest of the book goes with the Garrett family. Not a typical family in some ways, but is one in other ways. Ann Tyler, I've read a lot of her books. She's written a lot of books, and she won a big prize for a spool of blue thread. She got the Pulitzer Prize for that, and my sister has that book now, and I've read it, and it is fabulous. And she also won a prize for breathing lessons, one of her other books. She is an author that can write about people with their different thoughts, their different aspects, their different ways of looking at things. And she writes a lot about families, and the fact that when you're in a family, it doesn't necessarily mean sometimes that you're going to be close. And a lot of this book is about how one of the siblings of the first unit family becomes distant from the rest of the family, and he moves far away, and he only comes home once in a blue moon. But you'll see him with his family, and he's just the most warm, loving, kind person. And as you finish the book, you find out that something happened when he was young, on this first vacation she's talking about, he was only like 7 or 8, that crushed him so deeply that from that time forward, he always felt like his father didn't like him. Now, he knew his father loved him, but he felt like he could not ever measure up to his father, and it just affected the way he was. Yes. And all of the family members are unique. One of the girls is very kind of like me. She's kind of wild, and she gets married, and then she leaves that husband for a man that is married and is 20 years older than her, but then they have the most wonderful, warm 40-year marriage. It's just great book. French Braid. Can't beat Ann Tyler for a family story. You're just going to love every character. You're going to not like things about them, but deep down you're going to see the good in all of us usually prevails.
How many stars?
I 5 stars for this. So please pick it up.
Also, you said 5, maybe 4. The Sun Does Shine.
Yes, right. Wonderful book. And we thank y'all for joining us. We are loving it outside today.
It's beautiful today.
It's fall in Georgia, sitting on my back deck, and the temperature is perfect. And we're going to come back fairly soon because our next video is going to be about a book haul that we got recently. We got maybe 70 books for free, Gail?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are going to ask you to please subscribe and push the button, and don't pay any attention to the Facebook notice. Have a wonderful fall day. Gail, you tell them goodbye for us.
Goodbye. We love you. We love to read your comments, too.